you tell us about your childhood? How does that experience inspire you to become a teacher?
Okay. Actually, if I want to be really honest, I didn't want to become a teacher because both of my parents are teachers. So I knew since I was little how hard it is for kids to grow up with teacher parents. You know, they're never with you. They have to be always in the festivals, meetings. After work, they have to be doing grades. They have to be grading papers. So I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher. So I live in the States I did my high school in the States. Whenever I came back, I started working as a teacher. They hired me to teach English because I knew English. But I wanted to study psychology. And then I did semester zero in psychology. Whenever I was there, my boss told me that if I wanted to keep the job, I had to quit that school and enroll Escuela de Lenguas. And I was like, no. Then I talked to my parents and they say, yes, you're quitting that school and you're going to Escuela de Lenguas. I don't know if you know Miss Roxana Cano. She talked to me and then she said, you have the profile to be here. So she convinced me and then I started studying that career. And I didn't like it that much because of all the perceptions that I have from my parents. But whenever I start my practices and the first kid called me Miss, that changed something in my mind and then I loved it. Since there, I'm very happy teaching.
So we could say that event in your life was the one that inspired you to become a teacher.
Yeah,
What
that
was
and
that
then
feeling?
whenever let me tell you another thing. Whenever I live in the States, I was living with one of my aunts, and so my parents were not with me, and sometimes I was feeling very, very alone, and things were difficult because in the school that I was, it was Hispanic community was very low, but my teacher, my ESL teacher, was there for me all the time. So she was the one who inspired me that you have to put a lot of passion. Whenever I was sad, she was used to call me. Whenever I was feeling alone, she used to go and visit to my house, not only in the school, but like going to my house, and that somehow made in me that I wanted to be some like her.
Wow. Well, having to, you told us that you had a lot of experience and you're currently studying, right?
Yes.
So, what has been the most memorable stage you ever had that you will say, I will carry these memories forever?
Okay. Whenever I have been teaching for 16, almost 17 years. But whenever I start working, I had to work whenever shootings were going on here in Durango. And you have to be prepared for if something happened in the school, you know, you had to take care of the kids to know how to react whenever that happened. And I remember one time we were after lunch and then very close to the school that I was working there was a shooting and I had to take care of the kids. I was like fearing very hard. I was very afraid. It was shocking, but then you don't think about yourself, you think about their kids lives. So whenever I was in there, I was taking care of the kids. We were going under the tables and everything, and then whenever that passed, I just realized how deep I love my job that I never thought about me. I thought about how the kids were.
How could you integrate some elements of the Mexican culture into your teaching practice in order to enrich learning?
Um, whenever you involve, well, I always tell my students, if your class doesn't have your personality, then it's not your class. So you have to always put some of your personality in whatever you're teaching. The way that you talk, the way that you treat people, the way that even your background, what you have done, things like those. So I couldn't teach them Spanish without letting them know how my country is and how I am in the food and everything. So I used to use a lot of their information to compare to a lot of their culture and compared to my culture. So, like, they eat a lot of spicy food too. So I had there a topic. So I used to teach them which kind of chilies do you have? This one and that one. That one is the most hottest one. This one and that one. Okay, now with it. So I can teach superlatives. So I have to think uh, what is related to me that connects with them. So I use them, and then I used to develop grammar structures from there.
Yeah, that's very.
How do you manage cultural differences in classroom, especially regarding like social norms, values, or educational expectations? Because
I loved to make my students to be critical and to analyze stuff. So the way that I like for them to learn English through critical is use realia. A lot of maybe articles, information that they is happening in their country that sometimes we don't even realize that happened. Like I remember in one class, but here in Mexico, I was showing them not red, pink crosses from Ciudad Juarez, and they didn't know what those meant. And I was like, "Do you know what happened in Juarez? Why they have those pink crosses?" No, miss. So whenever you start thinking about what happened in your history, in your country, in your community, uh, they get interest to investigate to